We all could benefit from just outside influence and like sharing in the creative practice. I think art is meant to be an exchange kind of anyway between the creator or creators and the audience. It's an ongoing conversation.
Hey yo, pimpin' on the east side. I know this a West Coast beat, but it's a freestyle. I've been kinda stressed and I freaked out. Good thing I got a brain that could reroute. That shit ain't got nothing to do with me.
Can we just like banter for a second?
Yeah,
Because
bands on.
and you know what, I might even give us like a couple extra minutes
Yeah.
because of this banter, but like first of all, how are you feeling? Like we've changed up a lot,
Yeah,
right?
rebrands and redecorations and yeah.
And I feel like today was like especially tough for me because I'm on my period. I'm like coming off of like some type of like sinus thing,
Yeah.
and we have all these added elements.
We creating.
Dee Vee creating, based off feedback that we were getting, positive, the negative feedback that we were kind of giving ourselves to kind of help us grow.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it was negative.
Not negative. Okay.
It was like, okay, we can make some improvements or some changes. Let's try this. This is really working.
Yeah.
That's part of how we workshop anything, right?
Yeah. So I just feel like I just need to breathe.
Yeah,
Like,
take a beat, center.
take a moment and center myself before we get into this conversation. And just kind of put into this space that like reminding ourselves why we're here, letting go of our ego, letting go of the outside things, tapping back into vulnerability. And the reason why we created this podcast in the first place was to be an extension of community for other creatives, and just to help people through our own personal story. And so I want to start, tapping back into that, because sometimes you can kind of like be doing so much and be adding elements and can cause angst and anxiety, and you tend to like forget the reason why you did something in the first place. So I don't want us to forget why we are here, even in our quest to create some dope content. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I feel that I received that. It's and one of the things that you said aloud that very much so aligns with the conversation we wanted to have today is, and thank you for doing that, for creating a space for both of us to center and ground. And that's very much an example of, I think, letting go of ego. That was one of the things you mentioned, and that being a larger conversation around collaboration and what it means to work with others, work alongside others. And ego, I think, is like the the recurring kind of piece in that equation that can be very difficult for a lot of people, because speaking for myself, I have often thought about art and making art as this solitary practice. If I was doing a play or going to be in a film, you have group rehearsals and things like that, but I'm learning my lines on my own. I'm rehearsing while I'm doing the dishes, or if I'm painting, I'm in my corner and I'm locked in. And I think that's an extension of, I think, how success is sort of sold to creatives. It's like you always hear single names being thrown out, and Picasso and Spielberg and Issa, which is great. We can look to people as examples. However, it's discounting, I think, how collaboration plays a role in, I think, all that we see, all that we consume as far as creativity goes. But all right, that ego piece, I think, makes collaboration seem unsexy. It's like, it's like I gotta get it on my own. I need to be like Issa or Quinta or whoever, and I want to have mine. And people are looking at me like, oh man, look at but.
And I think we glamorize it too.
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
We love the success story, right? And usually the way that a success story is pitched or like put forth in front of us is like you were saying, this like singular individual who against all odds
overcame
picked themselves up by their bootstraps, and a lot of the times we don't see the other people who went into being a part of that person's success. And I think because it's an unsexy reality, we don't talk about it enough. And I think as creatives, a lot of times we do kind of come up into the creative or artistic space thinking that we got to get it on our own, until we find out that whatever we were doing by ourselves, although it was good work, it might have even been great work, but because we didn't put ourselves in a position to collaborate or hear from other people, get other perspectives, that project probably didn't go as far as it could have gone.
Yeah, I mean, nine times out of 10 at least, it's things will never go as far as they could go without the aid and the contribution of others. One of the things that astonishes me every time I watch a film or a TV show, I'm a film nerd junkie, and when I still watch the credits, and I just marvel so often at, wow, all of these people played a role in this picture, this piece of art, and we might associate it with whoever's starring or the director but there's so many other people that had to come together, that had to be on an accord, that had to let go of their ego, at least to some degree, to be under the guidance of a director, or to like, I want to support your vision, and how do I do that? And I think one of the threats to us creating collaboration, and we talked about a little bit, is collaboration can feel like a threat. And so many times I think I've had opportunities to collaborate with people, or I've been put in a position where it's like, okay, work with this person, and it felt like a threat because one part of my brain is like, nah, you got to get it on your own. You got to show the world. You got to prove to your neighborhood. You got to prove to your mama. Like that's literally the voice in my head. I saw, my mom's a lawyer, but immigrant, single parent. I saw all the things she needed to do and did on her own to raise me, to put me through school. So it's like, I feel like I got to do it that way too. And to a detriment, right? If I'm discounting the ability to get feedback from others, to be strengthened by others.
But even as a lawyer, your mom don't do everything by herself, right? Like there are people that do like research for her probably. Like I don't know a lot about that space, but I do know that it is a team of people usually working on cases, right? So this wouldn't be different for us too.
Absolutely, and we all could benefit from just outside influence and like sharing in the creative practice. I think art is meant to be an exchange kind of anyway between the creator or creators and the audience. It's an ongoing conversation. So, and I think largely a reflection of all of our realities. So, but I was robbing myself of that at times because it's like, if I let somebody else in, I'm going to have to give something up. I'm going to have to lose something. I think it can appear that way, like collaboration is a competition. I think especially for Black creators, because it's like, it's got to be me or you. It can't be the both of us. You feel me? If you want to be on to the side somewhere, cool, but just know that
Because I got my thing.
Right.
I got my thing that I'm doing, that I got going on.
Yeah. And we live in an individualist culture and society, but it's like, yeah, there's so much to be enjoyed and appreciated about having our thing.
Yeah.
You know, and so I was interested in, for you, like, obviously we're collaborating.
Yes.
We've come together to create a thing once again. What allowed you to be open to or to even consider partnering with me?
First of all, collaboration and the idea around collaboration and even the idea around sharing, whether that be success or failure, the idea of sharing that with another human is very new for me.
Yeah.
Like, I can admit that at times I have often been a very egotistical person who wanted to shine on my own, who wanted to get it on my own, and kind of didn't think anybody else could fit in my lane. And, you know, and to be honest, like, I am and have always been kind of like a Jill of all trades. It's like, I don't need this person over here to do that. I can do that. I can do that myself. You know, self-sufficient, but to a fault, to my own detriment. And it's actually been very recent where I've been more of a collaborative spirit. And that's true and a little bit false too, right? Like, there have been times where I have tried to collaborate with other people and it just hasn't worked. So I never, in some respects, I didn't see it as like a possibility for me. Because of the ego piece. Because people, in my experience, don't really seem open to sharing triumph together, wanting to be that singular name, you know, in the credits as the one and my team behind me, versus we did this together. And I also think that I had to grow as my own individual as well, because the type of human that you are will determine the type of collaborator that you are. And maybe I just wasn't a good enough human to collaborate.
Whatever that means.
You know?
Yeah.
Maybe there were parts of me that needed to be burnt out.
Yeah.
In order for me to effectively be able to come to the table to communicate ideas in a way that would garner support and collaboration from other people. But to answer your question, this is a very recent thing for me, and even within it very recent, like I was thinking to myself about like this conversation and the fact that you wanted to have the conversation, and what was brought to me was this like time where I was a terrible collaborator.
Boy.
And I feel like now I need to go to this human and be like, oh my God, I am so sorry. And it's recent too.
Yeah.
And there was like a situation that happened in the theater where I was doing a show, and this is completely separate from the show that I talked about in a different episode. And this director, this human, was so mean to me. And they made me question my abilities as an actor daily. I mean, this person was a tyrant throughout the entire process. And what ended up happening was just something I literally just discovered last night in self-reflection. What ended up happening was the next project that I had, because that person made me feel so inadequate and so inept at my job, when it was time for me to collaborate in another type of setting, my ego was so strong that when that director would give me like a note, I would be on top of it, like, no, actually, well, this is what I was thinking. And because there was this fear, right? Going back to the conversation around ego, because there was this fear that my abilities were being questioned, that I wouldn't get the credit for creating this full developed character without the aid or help of anyone else, I ended up not being a good collaborator and stopping the flow of my own success within that space.
Yeah.
And so, like, going back to the conversation about ego and how that can really stop us from receiving what it is that we need to receive, rubbing shoulders with the people that we need to rub shoulders with in a good way. And it also stops us from going to another level. And so that's why I thought it was important for the idea of wanting to do another podcast. That's why I thought that it was important to collaborate with someone the next time around.
Yeah.
Because you need collaboration.
You need it. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's you hit on a lot of things. One of the things that came to me is, in any collaborative space, everybody is in theory, right, has this a shared goal.
You're supposed to.
And so it's like, in theory, everybody is there to help everybody else, right? If I'm directing and you're appearing on camera, yes, of course, you have your training and your ability and your insights and your things that you're drawing from to round out or bring this character to life. But as a director and or maybe a writer, I have things in mind in terms of what I want for the tonality of this particular scene. Or okay, I love what you did there, right? I'm affirming you. I'm recognizing what's already strong. But I think you could try this at the end of the scene. Say it this way. And you make a different choice, and it elevates the whole thing, right? And then you're like, wow, like we shared in that. Like, having the ability to tone your ego down enough to receive excuse me, to receive something as help, as support, as guidance. This is just information. You could take it or leave it. Excuse me. Getting like
It's
a
okay,
little right singing in the background. But this person is here to support you. We're here to support each other, and there's such a vulnerability though that is required for that. So even in your sharing, you were so vulnerable, right? But collaboration requires that we be vulnerable people to actually share anything, to share ideas, to receive feedback, to receive perspective that is not our own, to admit that, you know what, their idea is actually, it works better for this thing. It doesn't make mine wrong. It doesn't, but like, wow, I didn't think about it that way. But I think it can feel so uncomfortable to be vulnerable, to open ourselves up to, we talked about what it means to have others' opinions affect or impact what we do. So like you mentioned, that director speaking to you in a way or directing in a way that made you question your abilities as an actor, or the choices that you were making, and which impacted the next collaborative space that you were in. But the fact that you're able to recognize that and have that awareness, I think allows you obviously to refine how you show up as a collaborator, and asking, okay, like how can I allow myself to be in this space and be the best collaborator? Like what do the people around me need from me?
And I also think that it's about not thinking that your ideas are so precious that
Yeah.
they can't be challenged.
Right.
Like, I think that's a huge barrier to effective collaboration, because like you throw an idea into this space and you're like, this is it.
Yeah.
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
I've been
I'm a
working on this
genius.
for 3 months. Okay.
Right.
In my art cave, and and
Yeah.
like you're lucky that I'm even bringing
And
this
that's
to
how
you.
we act, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's when you let ego take over in a collaborative space, like that's how you act. Like, the thing that you said is just like the word, and that's all there is. And it's like, well, if that is the case, then you don't need to be a collaborator,
Right.
right? Like,
Do it by your
like,
damn
do
self.
it by yourself,
Yeah.
right? And so I really think we just all need to stop taking ourselves so seriously. And I think that when I stopped taking myself so seriously is when I became a better collaborator. Because now, if somebody says something to me, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, like, let's try it.
Yeah.
Like, or even if an idea is that important to you, you can still hold it dear while also saying, okay, I'm going to take this out of the center of the table for 1 second. I'm going to move your idea front and center and see how that works as well. And then we come back to the table and say, okay, which one are we going to go with? But, you know, sometimes we just make things that ain't that deep, super deep.
Yeah. I mean, it's and that's real. I think art in itself is such a vulnerable practice. We're so often called to go inward in order to and to be very reflective, and sometimes you are in a very singular space. I gotta work on this script for the next however long. I'm not gonna be going out. I'm not taking calls, whatever it is, and I think it feels strange or uncomfortable to come out of that. It's like I've been pouring over this thing, and so I can't even really think of what it looks like to bring others into it. But I think it takes us getting present in a particular way. Like, okay, I don't have to exist within this echo chamber for the whole time. I can bring in my friend who I know has insights that I don't have, has experience that I don't have, and they can see things that I wouldn't otherwise see. Like any other relationship, it's an opportunity to have things reflected back to you, because you don't know everything, and there's so much that you can gain from just being able to listen. I think, you know, when you're sharing any story, you're sharing your work, take a look at this, let me know what you think, because it's going to go in front of an audience at some point, right? You want people to see this. So what does it mean to gain people's, you know, perspective before you go and share it on a large scale? And all of a sudden, like that thing that felt like a block or that you couldn't get past, you're looking at it in a different way because you allowed yourself to be vulnerable enough to share the thing that was so precious, or that is still so precious. You're not giving anything up by sharing it with somebody else, and they may be the ally that you need to take that thing to the next level. And it's I know I've worked against myself by like it's like you're holding on to all of the different things, and there's people out there who are waiting for your stories, waiting for your ideas. Or I've shared things, works in progress, and people are like, oh, like, why don't you, or have you thought about doing this with it? Oh, I hadn't thought about that. And then I don't even revisit that thing or explore that further. And it's like, that was a really good idea that I wasn't considering. Or I never thought about working in this space or working with this person or submitting here. So it's so beneficial, but it feels scary because it's like we're gonna lose. And I think, again, as Black creatives, it can feel like it's got to be one or the other. Like there's not enough room, there's not enough space, and I think we need to dispel that mythology as much as possible. It's like there's more to be had, especially if we choose to share in the work, share the ideas, iron sharpen iron, and really like build something lasting.
Yeah, it kind of brings up I have a client who works in the DEI space, and one of the things that we have talked about is like, you know, when kind of like the George Floyd thing was happening, and there was a microscope on injustice in America, everybody was kind of rushing to do a lot of like performative DEI stuff, right?
We love Black folks now.
Right. We want you there. Oh yeah, we need to hire more people of color or more women. And there was like a rush to do these things that they didn't care about before, which is silly because statistically we know that when you have other people from other perspectives, not just race wise, right? People from different socioeconomic backgrounds, you know, men, women, people from different communities, all in the same space, working towards the same goal, you become more successful. Absolutely. And these companies that have, you know, DEI in place and they're really practicing what they preach, they have more success. And so I would submit that when it comes to your work as a creative, if you really want to go far, if you want to reach a wider audience, that maybe you should start having collaboration as a part of your value system. And also when it comes to having a particular value system, I think it's really important to get clear, if you're deciding that you want to collaborate with someone, what is the mission? What is the mission of the collaboration? Because if you are clear about the mission, then anything that happens in between, right, kind of pales in comparison of the mission. Like you and I were collaborating right now, right? And we have a very, very particular mission in mind. And so for me, when it comes to us collaborating about little things, I'm okay with pushing my ego down and deferring to you because there's a mission that is more important than my little idea, right? Yeah. So like, I feel like if people are more mission focused, then more people can come together and get things done.
Yeah. I mean, I think something that you said that's really important is having the clarity of what your mission is or what your vision is. Because you can say, hey, I have this idea that's really precious to me. I've been working on it for 10, 15 years. Like, I get it. Like, again, we're pulling from something inward. So our art can be so personal and specific. So I get what it means, again, to be vulnerable enough to share that with others and trusting them to honor the vision, but also being able to be clear so that you can communicate it and people can say, like, that aligns with what I want to do as well.
Facts.
You know, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to do something just like that, and I didn't know who I could share with or who I could work with. And I feel like so many times I end up in collaborative spaces or just in conversations with creatives, and we're all often looking for similar things or engaging with similar hurdles. Yeah. I've hit this block or this barrier, and I don't know how to get past it. It was just like, well, you've been working in your studio alone
by yourself.
You know, or you've been only talking with non-creatives, and not that they don't have their things to offer, but it's like you need to create that or cultivate that sense of community. Or maybe you've been talking to
people that literally are from the same neighborhood you were from, had the same experiences that you've had, and no one is thinking outside of the box because you all lived in the same box.
Yes,
So that's important too.
Absolutely.
I'm curious. What do you like about collaborating with me?
I knew it was coming.
Ego.
Right. I knew it was coming though. So like I prepared. I was like, she probably gonna hit me with a. So what do you like? So I love just how organized you are. I think you have so much vision and like really mission as well as what you said about what you want your art to represent, what you want this podcast to represent, how you want things to look, how you want things to feel. So it's not like I'm just getting with somebody who's like, I want to do a podcast and like, I just want to talk about art stuff. It's like you came with a clarity, which that kind of thing excites me. I need the stimulation. I need that energy. We talked about feeding off of energy. So when you show up and you have that clarity, I have something to be accountable to. Like I'm not coming to play because I know you're not coming to play.
Yeah.
Like we can have fun with it, but I wanna step up and honor your effort, honor your vision, honor your ideas, and share in that. Like you're so excited about this, and I want to participate, and I want there to be this exchange. So I just love that. I get to be inspired by you when you talk about the different things that you're working on, when you show me how you're hacking a particular challenge. I always feel inspired by you whenever I enter into a creative space. So that's been huge for me, as well as just having, I don't know, like I feel like you're giving me a certain amount of trust to bring something to the table. Because I feel like you could have gotten anybody in theory to like sit here with you and work on a thing, but I had to really look at myself too, like, she chose me for a reason. Like we're friends, and that helped me, I think, believe in myself a little bit, and so it's a multitude of things. I don't want to like.
I what I should have said was, what do you like about the collaborative relationship?
Yes.
So that way it wasn't just you just telling me how great. I mean, even though I take it,
we get to share ideas.
Yes.
Right, which is exciting, which feels good. So I get to be in community. I get to be in conversation with somebody who is like-minded, but we also are sharing in the workload.
Yeah.
So you don't have to take on everything on your own.
Which is such a blessing. Like, like I'm telling you, when we were like going through like the edits for the previous episodes, and the fact that you watched that other episode again and like put the time codes in, because in my mind I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I can't, I don't have the capacity to watch this episode another time. Like, but I was like, but I have to do it, right? That's a self-sufficiency thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that you text me was like, I put the time codes out. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right? And like sharing in that workload is so important. Like, and even though like the podcast was my idea, it doesn't feel like it. Like it because we are both two people that I think do a great job at like suppressing our ego and really working towards a singular goal. It really does feel like half and half to me. I don't know if you feel the same way, but
for sure.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, again, if we simplify it, recording this podcast is another opportunity for us to be who we say we are in the world, or who we've been called to be. We've been called to be creative. We've been called to tell stories. We've been called to help people through these practices, through these experiments. So it's like it's work, but it's a fun thing to share in. Like, if I wasn't doing this, I could potentially just be sitting in my space thinking about how shitty all my ideas are,
right.
and not working on any ideas. But it's like, wow, like I have an opportunity to create something, to take an idea and make it real. Again, it's an opportunity to really elevate everything that you do. Because I can take this into my next collaboration, and it feels good to know that I can get clear about what it is that I need and share that with somebody and trust them with that, but also consider what it is that they need and create the space for that exchange. So ultimately we're just putting ourselves in the best position to make the best possible product. So there's nothing really to lose. unless, right?
Part 2.
Right?
Part 2.
Yeah, if we not in alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's for real gonna be part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be. So what are our key takeaways?
Our takeaways.
From this one.
I would say one, collaboration is never a threat. It's never a threat. Every collaboration may not be for you.
Right.
You don't have to accept or agree to everything if there's something telling you otherwise. But it's not a threat. It's an opportunity for growth, for sharing workload, for sharing ideas, for improving ideas, and really for evolving as a creator. But you got to be willing to be vulnerable. But it's necessary at the end of the day. So, yeah. Was there anything for you?
I would say when you go into a collaborative relationship, check your ego at the door.
Please. Twice.
Right. Don't be like, are you there? Are you at the door?
Right.
Okay. Check your ego at the door. Don't take yourself too seriously. No idea that you can think of in your mind is worth losing relationships that can put you in a position to grow as a human and as a creative. And so because I know that, you will never, ever, 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 ever catch me actually arguing, with a collaborative partner.
Yeah.
Because the mission and the relationship is always going to be bigger than my ego and what I want in the moment.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. We did that.
We did it!
Listen up.
Artists,
Non-artists.
art adjacent.
We want you to be a part of the combo
Let us know what you think.
by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts.